Morning, sir.
Good morning and good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Right.
I had to check. Sorry, sir.
My name is Brendan Miller. I'm counsel for Freedom Corp, which represents the protesters that were in Ottawa only, nobody at Coutts, between January and February.
Pleased to meet you.
Of 2022. So I just want to dive right in. So, and I don't want to ask for anything subject to criminal code sealing orders or things, and just based on what I know from the public record about this group that ended up being arrested at the border in Coutts area with respect to the conspiracy to commit murder and all of that. It's my understanding that the RCMP undercover agents, and this is based on the public record, were involved with that group from a very early point. Is that fair?
I think that I wouldn't have that kind of tactical level of information, so I honestly don't have a knowledge of that, and you would probably be better asked that of the Deputy Commissioner, and I'm not trying to avoid, I just sincerely was not briefed at that level of detail. Okay.
Was it your understanding that that group, their plot was to have two females smuggle in a hockey bag a whole bunch of guns into the protest? Is that what your understanding was?
I have actually no understanding of the undercover operations or the intelligence gathering operations of the RCMP. The level of detail that I was briefed at was really of the existence of threats within the group that were potentially more violent, and that they had the intelligence to indicate that they were armed and planning to do violence in relation to the police should any enforcement action take place.
Right, but are you after the fact aware that the two females that they were intending to have smuggle in these firearms were actually two undercover RCMP officers?
I apologize. I just have no detail in terms of the actual criminal file or the investigation itself. Quite carefully avoided that level of interaction with the police and kept it at a higher level.
To your knowledge, before the invocation of the Emergencies Act, was this investigation and this operation with respect to these gentlemen who were arrested at Coutts for conspiracy to commit murder, was it ever relayed to the federal executive political branch, that is cabinet? Are you aware if that was before the invocation?
Was that information that this group was there relayed to the federal executive?
Yeah, the federal executive branch in the sense of the political branch of government with respect to elected ministers.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any knowledge of that. That would be a conversation probably at the federal level of the RCMP, and certainly not one I was privy to or was briefed on.
Thank you. And it's fair to say that with Coutts, of course, none of the provisions under the Emergencies Act that were invoked in the subsequent orders in council, none of them were used in respect to Coutts, were they?
That's correct.
And to your knowledge, none of the protesters at Coutts had any of their accounts frozen or anything like that under the orders?
I don't have any knowledge of that. I can't say that it didn't happen. I just don't know that.
Right. Now, to your knowledge, were you aware of when the RCMP finally mobilized their national public enforcement units to go to Ottawa? They actually brought in other officers from BC and other folks. Were you apprised of when that happened?
There was a, similar to the Article 9 provisions that we spoke to earlier, there was another request for support to the national response to the situation in Ottawa. And that came right after the weekend, so I want to say 15th, 16th, somewhere in that range. And I was aware that the RCMP, along with the Calgary Police and the Edmonton Police, were providing officers to support the Ottawa Police Service in their efforts.
And you agree with me that that request, it doesn't require the Emergencies Act to be invoked. This is a thing that can be done. And it could have been done at any time between when the protests started in Ottawa to when it was asked, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And
it's used at any time.
Right, and for whatever reason, the RCMP in Ottawa never asked for all of these units, which could have easily been made available and sent to Ottawa to assist with resources. They never asked for them before the 15th, did they?
I was not aware of any requests at all before that. Yeah.
And you've watched some of this hearing. The biggest issue in Ottawa was resources. And it was some of the evidence from poor Chief Slawley, who had this thrown on him, that he was asking the RCMP for resources. And Commissioner Lucky said that you've got what you've got. But at all times, is it fair that Commissioner Lucky could have asked, made a request like that was made on the 15th, and asked for these officers to come to Ottawa to assist him?
The provisions of the police services agreement remain in place to this day and have been since 2012 when we signed the agreement, so they could have been asked for. I won't speculate as to what our response would have been.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.